Hey yo, what's poppin', man? Hope you guys have been doing good. Bro, I just redlined the entire thing. Okay, hope you guys have been doing good. Now, I want to talk about a little something. Give me a sec. Yo, we're back, right? Hopefully. Okay, so I want to talk about this. My intraday plays today. Okay, so we've talked about like breaking down this trade. But here is a beautiful intraday setup. Here's a continuation. Okay, and I also want to tap into a little bit about the whole question. I've got tons of people messaging me about the same thing. How do you treat the charts when you have different brokers? So when you have broker discrepancies, a lot of you guys are suffering, and not suffering, a lot of you guys are struggling with that. A lot of you guys saying, Avi, which broker are you using? Okay, so the broker that I use is very simple. I use two brokers, IC Markets, and I also use Hot Forex. Okay, so do with that as you may. Now I found out, thanks to one very kind, thanks to a few actually kind people who found something out, using the forex.com broker or broker feed for gold. So when you type XAUUSD, right? When you type XAUUSD, you have Oanda, forex.com, blah blah blah. Oanda, perfectly fine. If you want to use Oanda and you've been seeing success with Oanda, beautiful. But forex.com actually gives you the closest or one of the closest broker feeds. It's not the same, it's not identical, but it's close. It's really close in terms of how that broker prints its candles. It's very similar to IC Markets. Okay, so if you guys, all you guys trading IC Markets, if you guys didn't know, IC Markets is really close with my Forex funds, the broker that they use. And then now I've also found out that forex.com matches the IC Markets as well. Again, not identical, because if you were to check your IC Markets charts right now, you will see that, and you compare it with forex.com, you will see that the forex.com broker did not print this accurately in comparison to IC Markets. But we have to live through this. So what do I do to deal with this? Okay, Avi, you've given us a little bit of a solution, right? Use forex.com, but still if there are broker discrepancies, what do I do? Very simple. You simply cross-check. So when you have, like, okay, I'm going to give you an example. Open up your IC Markets on your phone right now, MT4. Or if you guys are some cavemen who still trade using the MT4 on their computer, fine, so be it, right? Okay, I'm not here to judge, but I am though. Open up your MT4 with your IC Markets and see how there's a broker discrepancy, and go ahead and cross-check that with forex.com. If there's a certain entry that you see on IC Markets that you don't see on forex.com, or vice versa, go and cross-check it. Okay, so anyway, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this. Let's get on with the breakdown. I will try my best to talk more on this topic in a future video, because I want to do like a frequently asked questions kind of thing in the future. That's what I do plan to do. All right, how did I ride this entire wave down? So we had one entry here, if I'm not wrong. Let's ignore this one because we covered like a bunch of these. We even covered the entries, the sells from here, right? So if you were to look at this intraday, you can see we had an entry at the top here. Let's ignore all of these guys. Let's talk about, and even ignore this one because we've talked about this in the previous video. Let's talk about 1 and 2. And then let's talk about how I knew when I should probably take my profits. Okay? And yeah, pretty much that's that. Okay, first things first. It's not even about when to take your profits. First, you need to understand when price switches storyline. So we'll talk about that after we break down those two entries. So we knew, okay, from right here, buy, sell, okay, price comes back and touches into this resistance, and then the daily breaks out. Where does the daily break out? The daily breaks out right here. Boom, she breaks out. So what does that mean? That means that we have ourselves a weekly bearish storyline starting from here. Starting from this resistance, we have a weekly bearish storyline. Whether it is long-term, short-term, who cares? Not a single soul on planet Earth can actually figure out how long a storyline is going to start. You can speculate. I've done timelines before very successfully, very accurately, but they are not something that are sustainable. Okay, you do not. It's not only not sustainable. Timelines are not only not sustainable; they're also not required. So if something is not required, why are you adding something? Why are you adding more complexity to your trading? Trading is actually very simple. You don't need to add any more complexity to it. Okay. So how did I write this? So we already know the first entry over here, that's from this resistance. Okay, what happened next? Why did I take my entry here? First, you need to understand why I took my entry in here. Very simple questions have very simple answers. We have ourselves a resistance, okay, and inside this resistance you can refine it and refine it. Inside the daily resistance we have ourselves a H4 resistance, correct? And then of course you can refine it and refine it even further. Okay, so that's it pretty much. This is all, and then we have our entry here, and we have our stop loss 30 to 35 pips. So for me, I like to have it around 25 to 32 pips. Boom, just like that. So you set your sell limit, or you take a entry execution, whatever you want, and boom, there you go. Okay, if you want to add yourself a little trend line, maybe you can use this. I'm not sure what I used on that day, but here, look, that one fits perfectly fine. even on the line chart, that goes really well. So if you want to use that, you can go ahead and use that. Okay, so we've talked about this. Now, from this daily resistance, right? See how this is all trading from inside the daily resistance. You have to understand, why did I even take a sell from here, just like as a touch trade? They call this a touch trade or a high risk entry. There's no rejection of this, no, nothing. It's just boom, straight away like that. Why did I take it? I took this sell in anticipation of there being a daily reject daily. Listen, we have confirmed to be in a weekly bearish storyline. We have confirmed this. Okay, 100% confirmed this. We've confirmed that we're in a weekly bearish storyline. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, so since we've confirmed this, where are we entering from? We're entering from daily resistances. What's the safest way to enter a daily resistance? Not just at a touch, right? Because look, there's a touch here, there's a touch of this resistance, right? All those things. What's the safest way? Wait for a daily reject daily. And look, after we entered the risky trade, the high risk touch trade, guess what happened? We had ourselves that daily reject daily. Then all we do is something very simple. So this daily reject daily happened on Wednesday. So on Thursday, we're opening our charts and we're looking at Wednesday's price action. What did Wednesday do? So we're going to hit to the 4 hour. And we're going to check it out. So look, this was Wednesday, and you can see the dates right here at the bottom. Can you see my crosshair right at the bottom? We have ourselves Tuesday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday touches into our daily resistance, and we have ourselves a H4 breakout. From this H4 breakout, we have 3 potential zones. We have the support break become resistance, so we have an SBR. We have ourselves, right, we have the SBR. We have ourselves the left shoulder, so just pick one. They're both in like the same area. Buy, sell, boom, okay. Stand imperfection sometimes, bro. And then we of course have this guy. Okay, so we have 3 areas, 3 zones. Now, if you've watched any one of my previous videos on SNR, you would know that I don't deal with 3 zones. I only deal with a maximum of 2. Especially when we're doing entries, I only deal with a maximum of 2. On a higher time frame, daily time frame, you can give me 16 different daily zones. I know that the best daily zone out of the 16, the hypothetical 16 that I would choose to take a trade from, will be the one that starts the daily bearish storyline. So let's assume we have 16 daily bearish zones, right? Which one do I choose? Well, the one which has a daily reject daily and a H4 bearish breakout, i.e. a daily storyline starting from it. Okay, that would be my best bet. Okay, so I would just choose the left shoulder and the apex. They call this the apex. Okay, so let's go and mark these guys up. All right, and I know what you guys are thinking. Oh, I got break even. Hold on, I'll give you guys a little bit of a tip. Pause. Okay, now we're on the H4. Let's go to the H1. Now in the H1 we have 2 other zones. We have this one, this left shoulder right here. So if you want, I can just mark that out. We have this left shoulder, and then we have this higher, slightly higher left shoulder. Which one do we choose? Very, very simple for me. We don't actually have 2 zones. We have 3 zones. Don't forget that if price comes up, like let's assume price hits us out a break even and price comes up, I'm still going to want to take a sell over here. Why? Because this is an indication of a daily bearish storyline. So how many zones are we going to be dealing with, man? Correct? So take one away. And we're just dealing with these 2. Now, these 2 are perfectly fresh zones. This one is not actually a fresh zone because this is a left shoulder that has been tapped in the future. So look, buy, sell. This is a resistance. The resistance breaks, so this resistance becomes support. But that support doesn't hold, and price comes in and taps into that and sells off. So this resistance is not actually fresh. Now, here's another question that people have asked me. Avi, right? Let's assume we didn't have 3 zones. Let's assume that we only had the chart like this. Just one zone here, the apex, and another zone over here at the left shoulder. Would you still take a sell from this left shoulder knowing that it's been tested? My answer to your question, yes, 100%. And let me tell you why. Even though it's not fresh, why am I taking a sell? Very simple. This is within, I'm going to go to the daily. Bear with me here. You have to understand, see, remember, what is this line? First, answer this question. What is this line? This line is roughly that area of the H1 that we saw, which wasn't fresh, right? And I told you guys, hypothetically speaking, let's assume we only had these 2. We only, ignore this one over here. Let's assume we only had these 2. Left shoulder, and let's assume this black line is the daily resistance, and inside this daily resistance, we have a H1 left shoulder, and we have a H1 apex, correct? Now let's go back to the daily. Now, inside this daily, we have the H1 and we have this other H1, correct? But this first H1, it's not fresh, guys. Why would I still consider an entry from there? Very simple. We are within the daily resistance. And so long as we are within the daily resistance, regardless of whether the H1 or H4 is fresh or unfresh, those are areas that can still produce reactions. Now, if we have a H1, for example, in our case, we have a H1 that is unfresh, and then we have right next to it, right? Let's go back to the H1. Bear with me here. This H1 is unfresh, and right next to it, we have a H1 that is perfectly fresh, never been tested. After it's become a left shoulder, it's never once been tested before. Would I still choose this H1 that is unfresh? No. Why? Because we have a better quality zone. But as I said, in a hypothetical scenario, in a hypothetical situation, if we only have this H1 as a left shoulder and we only have this apex, heck bro, let's assume this apex was somehow even tested, right? There's a third candle here tested during this day. So daily reject daily, right? Where this is on Wednesday, and Thursday we go and look back. Oh, this H1 has been tested already, right? But it's within a daily fresh. Remember that I'm not going to keep switching. Remember the daily fresh we saw earlier, right? Down here somewhere, the daily fresh. It's within that. And here we have a H1 apex. We have a H1 left shoulder already tested. Will I still attempt if there's no other choice, if there's no other fresh zone? Absolutely 100% I will attempt that. Okay, so I want you guys to understand that. Okay, let's move on. So what I did was very simple. I actually entered a sell trade from here. Boom, just like this. And we had a 30 to 35 pip stop loss. You know me. I go for a 32. If we go 31, it doesn't matter. There we go, 32.6, but even 31 doesn't matter. Okay, we had ourselves a lot of drawdown, actually, significant drawdown, 25 pip drawdown, and then price came down, boom, like this, and I got completely stopped out, guys. Now, this is something that, as I said, I can easily hide. I can say, oh, you know, I just put my limit, bro, and I was at the gym, bro, so I could do all of this BS to you guys. But no, I took a sell from here. It went 25 pips in drawdown, went back down a little bit, boom, completely knocked me out. Completely knocked me out, right? So that's no problem for me. Now, during this day, we actually had news. So if you guys want to go to Forex Factory and check that out, I'm not going to bother. But if you guys want to go back to Forex Factory and check that out, we actually had high impact news on this day, right? And what you would usually notice is during the day of having high impact news. Now, I'm going to repeat that. During the day of having high impact news, price 99% of the time follows the current storyline. And what's the current storyline? Daily bearish. So it doesn't follow what might happen in the future because of a weekly bullish or what might happen in the future because of a monthly bullish. No, it follows right now the lowest time frame storyline. What's the lowest time frame we go to for storylines? We don't F around, excuse my French, but we don't F around with anything below the daily time frame for a reason. The lowest time frame we go to look for a storyline is the daily. And on the daily time frame, we have ourselves a daily reject daily and a H4 bearish breakout. You will even notice this phenomenon, and the news will follow this. You will even notice this phenomenon if we have a daily reject daily, right? So this was Wednesday. Oh, god damn. Okay, this was Wednesday. And then on Thursday, that's kind of satisfying to do, I'm not gonna lie. And then on Thursday, boom, 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 price comes up. This is a daily reject daily and just a H4 and a H1 bearish resistance created. So no storyline whatsoever. But Thursday will just follow this beautifully. It happens like that. It happens like that, trust. Okay? Price will follow the lowest time frame storyline. Usually that's gonna be the case. Okay, cool. So now that you know that, I had my entry over here. Now you guys are wondering, okay, Avi, but I had my entry here too, Avi, and you know, just like you said, at around 50 to 70 pips, I set myself out at break even. And look, at 50 pips, it would have been set out at break even, and at 70 pips too, I set myself out to break even. But I got hit. My BE got hit, and then price moved a colossal amount of pips, 290 pips, right? Avi, how can I avoid this in the future? Very simple explanation to you guys. Very, very simple answer, to you guys. On the day of news, listen to me very carefully. On the day of news, this happens so often. What you guys don't want to do is set yourself at break even early. Take your trade. Look, I took my trade. See, took my trade. And keep your stop loss at that 30 to 35 pip SL. Me personally, I keep it at 32, right? You guys can do whatever you want. 35 pips, 30 pips, no problem. Even 25 pips, who cares? Whatever floats your boat. But my point is very simple. When you know, okay, so let's assume that there's news at 8:30 p.m. Malaysian time, which is like 8:30 a.m. New York time, correct? There's news then, high impact, red folder news. You know during news time, price can whipsaw, which is like this, it goes boom, boom, like this, okay? Price can do all of this crazy stuff. Price can follow the storyline, but then hit you out of break even, you exhibit A, right? You can see all of this stuff that happens. You know this stuff is possible, where it does stupid stuff like this and hits down in your direction regardless. So learn from your mistakes And during that time, you have to risk it. That is the one risk that you have with news trades, is that you do not want to set yourself out to break even too early. You can argue, okay, I set myself out to break even at 100 pips. I argue that at 100 pips for an intraday trader, you're already taking your full profits anyway, because an intraday trader takes their profits 50 to 100 pips. That's how I do it. Whether you want to follow it or not, that's up to you. But for me, I'm advanced now, so I don't necessarily take my intradays at 100 pips. But for a starter at intraday trading, you best bet your ass you're going to be taking your profits at 100 pips, okay? And stick to that and be consistent with it. Be more correct first, and then you can start holding it longer, and I'll teach you guys a couple tips and tricks later on, okay? But so, how do you avoid this? How did I avoid this? Because, hey, look at my charts. Boom, right here. Look at this. How come I got the trade? Because when price came up over here and reacted, I knew this was well before the news, by the way, guys. Price came and hit my area, pause, okay? Well before the news, maybe like an hour and a half to 2 hours before my news. Okay, let's just assume that, right? And then I knew that 8:30, I had jiu-jitsu at that time, guys. My jiu-jitsu class starts literally at 8:30. And I was like, man, high impact news. I forgot what news it was, but it was high impact news. Okay, you know what? I know, I'm advanced, bro. I know what to do. Don't set myself to break even. Set my SL to be a normal SL, 32 pips. And that's it. Finished jiu-jitsu class, checked my phone, price was like over here, idling around here. I was like, okay, cool, take my profits at 100 pips, boom, I'm done, that's it. You know, I didn't do that because I'm more advanced, but you know, for the people who are just starting out, take your profits at 100 pips, boom, you're done. Another thing you can do, open your SL, so keep your SL normal, right? Keep your SL at 35 pips, keep your entry not at break even, and set your TP at 100 pips. So, you know, because you know it's news, right? Price can go down and then go up. Wild stuff can happen, right? So set your TP at 100 pips. So whether you're doing jiu-jitsu or freaking making a meal, who cares? You hit yourself at 100 pips, boom, you're out for the day. That's it. Okay? So that is my answer to you guys. Avi, how do you not get stopped out? That's my answer to you guys. Okay, cool. So now you guys know how I entered this trade right here. Okay, daily reject daily, H4 bearish breakout, daily bearish storyline. We had one entry opportunity in here, refined to a H1 fresh. Boom, we get stopped out. And then over here was the second entry opportunity. Okay, this is a H4 MTF with a H1. Notice that we have a H1 and in the same area as a H4. Great little area. And of course, you can use your trend lines right there. You can see your trend lines matched up beautifully and call that a day. Okay, so that would be your entry right here. Okay, we won't use a pink line just to differentiate between higher time frame zones and entry points. So I hope you guys now understand. Oh, okay, that's how he was still able to keep himself. That was how he still managed to keep himself in the trade. Okay, now the next entry opportunity came in the form of this guy right here. This is just very simple. This is just a really, really easy trade to pick up on. Okay, what did we have, right? Didn't you guys notice that on the Tuesday and Wednesday candle actually created a resistance? Am I right, guys? We created a resistance right here. Buy, sell. Resistance was created on using the Tuesday was a buy, Wednesday was a sell. That creates a resistance, and this was that high impact news trade, correct? So what is this? This is a resistance, and this trade on this day does what? Daily reject daily. So easy, so simple. We take a look at the H4, right? We take a look at the H4. Boom, she breaks out another one. Boom, break. Oh, sorry, excuse me. That was the here. We have another breakout. So now what can we say? Okay, we can now we can now trust. Again, it's not foolproof, but we can now trust and say that, hey, this resistance, you know, this rejection over here from this resistance, we can trust that it should hold price, at least for a certain period of time. Because you have to understand, this is not a weekly that we're dealing with. We're dealing with a daily zone. Yes, we're dealing with a weekly bearish storyline, I understand that. But we're dealing with a daily zone. Okay, cool. So then what happened is really simple. We have two zones only that I paid attention to. Oh, but Avi, there's one here, there's another one here, there's another one here, there's another one here. Which one? Bro, I only picked two zones. There were two zones, one here and another one here. That's it. So all I did, all I did was just draw up my lines. One over here, let's not waste our time with that one. And this guy right there. Okay, let's go back to the daily real quick. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, and you also have to understand something. You have to understand something else. This is not a pure H4 play. Yes, this is where it gets confusing, but this is also where it gets beautiful. This play, you know that was a H4 open close, right? It was not purely a H4. Guess what? This was inside a daily resistance. Can you guys spot the daily resistance that this H4 was inside? Now I'm going to go to the H4 and I'm going to show you the H4 again. Okay, this is the H4 we're talking about. Can you spot the daily resistance that it was inside? if you say this open close, you got it, right? Sell, sell. Now that's an open close, right? And inside this open close, again, we're trading on Friday. You have to understand, on Friday, I had absolutely no idea that price is going to close like this. No idea. Absolutely no idea. Okay? But during the Friday, I could see this though. I could see it like this. During Friday, oh, open close. Inside this daily open close, we look at the H4. Got a H4 in there. Go to the H1. MTF with the H1. So what is this? This is what? H1, MTF with the H4, MTF with the daily open close. H1 open close, H4 open close, inside a daily open close. You could start a little rhyme scheme using that. Okay? And then of course, pull yourself a little trend line if you want. You don't have to. Trend lines are not required. Trend lines are confluence. You guys have to understand, confluences are never required. This is the first touch, this is the second touch, and that's the third touch. Okay, don't get too technical with the trend line. Just know 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch. Okay, that's it, done. Right? On the 4th touch, less likely to hold. Just know that. That's all you need to know. Okay? And boom, she goes. Why does this work? Because we are currently using the weekly bearish storyline. Okay? Now, okay, here's where it gets interesting. Okay? This is what I love. This is the part where I really love it. This is where it gets really interesting. Unfortunately, I was not able to capitalize on this trade. But hey, this is why I'm not trying to boast, but this is why I'm a winner. And I'm a proud winner. Because even though I don't capitalize off of trades, sometimes it happens, right? But I look back and I'm like, how could I have gotten into this? Why did price burst up? Weren't we in a weekly bearish? Check this out. Check this out, guys. Let's go back to the weekly. Now, this broker feed, as I said, the broker feed that is superior, in my personal opinion, is IC Markets, okay? Just putting that out there. IC Markets broker feed is superior. Forex.com does not match IC Markets 100%. Pepperstone is closer, so if you want to take a look at Pepperstone right here, we have Pepperstone right here. Okay, so let's go and take a look at that. Pepperstone is closer. In some ways, it's almost identical, but in other ways, it's not. Like this gap over here is not, you know. But this is what happened on IC Markets. So I can't show you what's on my phone, right? I don't have MetaTrader 4 on a desktop. I'm not a caveman. I have MetaTrader 4 on my phone because that's what I use to trade. I only trade using my phone. And on my phone, the way price printed on IC Markets is like this. We had ourselves a sell buy, which is a support, and price came in and tapped into that support. Now, when price came in and tapped into that support, we want to look at a daily for a bullish breakout. But guess what? There was no bullish breakout. Look, this is when it tapped. There's no bullish breakout. But guess what happened, guys? Remember we were selling? Remember we sold from here, guys? On Forex.com, remember we sold from here? Then there was the open close. We sold from here as well. Guess what happened? Price eventually broke out. Now, do you guys remember? Throwback, real quick. Throw it back. Okay, do you guys remember in one of the most fundamental storyline videos that I posted, right? What are the 2 ways that a storyline can start? The first way a storyline can start is a very simple one. When you have, for example, daily reject daily, and then the H4 bearish breakout, or bullish breakout, vice versa. Or weekly reject weekly, and a daily bullish breakout. Like, caused by the rejection. So like this, daily, see this, daily rejected is daily, and as a result of daily reject daily and the close, we have the breakout. Alternatively, what can happen is exactly what happened over here. We have ourselves a weekly reject weekly. The daily bullish breakout never happened here, but then it happened later on in the process, during the process of it happened. This is the second way. It's not a preferred way, but it's the second way. And you can see how ni hao. Okay, we can see how we broke up. Okay, and this huge candle confirms weekly bullish storyline. And you have to understand something. For us to conclude that a weekly SNR is going to hold price, we need to have what? A weekly bullish storyline start from there. But here we confirmed it, guys. We already confirmed the weekly bullish storyline started. That's not even including the fact that we have another weekly in here. I'm just telling you guys from here. Weekly reject weekly. The daily broke out. What does that do? That says that we're in a weekly bullish now, confirming that this area is going to hold. Sometimes price does this, guys. I'm here to give you guys realistic scenarios. I'm not here to beat around the bush. I'm not here to BS with you guys. This is stuff that happens. What are you going to do about it? Cry? This stuff happens whether you're on SMC. This stuff happens when you're on SNR. This stuff happens when you're on S&D, which is supply and demand. This stuff happens everywhere, bro. YouTube, SNR, whatever. It always happens. These kind of weird cases, these kind of weird scenarios. It happens, bro. Bloody hell, it happens. Okay? So nothing you can do about it. Right? Just wise up to that fact. Weekly reject weekly, daily bullish break. And that's it. That you know this area is going to hold for weekly, at least temporarily, at least for now. So you need to understand why you're not selling from these areas, or why it would be foolish for you to take a touch trade from these areas. I completely let myself off. Never took a touch trade from here. You want to know why? Because now we have the weekly working together with the monthly, and there is no daily bearish right now because the dailies have been completely destroyed. Okay, I told myself already. There's a certain person that invited me to a group chat, and I told the entire group chat, if we have a daily bullish breakout, you know who you are. If I told the entire group chat, if we have a daily bullish breakout, be very careful of your sells because we will be completely bullish. I warned everybody about that. And I'm not trying to take pride for it. I'm just trying to tell you, why did I say that? Because, well, if we have a daily bullish, you have to understand weekly starts. And if weekly starts, that means price is probably going to swing from here. That's how it goes. Price is probably going to swing from here. That means you're taking sells from a daily, fighting completely against the weekly and the monthly. It's okay to take sells from the daily. Right? It's okay to take sells from the daily, but at least wait for a daily reject daily, man. At least wait for a daily bearish storyline to start from one of these two. It's perfectly fine. If you want to take sells from here, no problem. But at least wait for a daily reject daily H4 bearish breakout, or a daily reject daily and then like a H4 new resistance or something like that. Just to give yourself a bit of a buffer. Taking a touch trade like this, risky. Not gonna lie, risky. Okay? So yes, I hope you guys understood this and could follow exactly why we made some of these trades right here. Right? Covered this, okay? And yeah, again, if you're an intraday, you're like, Avi, where do I take my profit? Bro, if you're an intraday trader, don't try and do the stuff that I'm doing. Get consistently profitable with this first. If you're an intraday trader and you don't even have a trading plan, why are you even asking for new videos? Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute now. If you haven't made a plan for yourself, it doesn't mean that your plan's going to succeed. I'm saying if you haven't even attempted to make a plan, you're just trading. I'm just trading, bro. Right? You have no right to ask for a new video. You have no right. I'm sorry. I have to be harsh with you. I'm not trying to be rude. But I'm being direct and I'm being very honest. Okay? If there's one thing that I understood early on in my entire career with Forex trading, it's this. And I'm talking early on. I'm talking about the first year that I even knew what the hell Forex trading was. I figured out that if you don't have a plan, you're not going to be consistent. You're going to be profitable. But you're not going to be consistent. Sorry to say this. You are not going to be consistent if you don't have a plan. And a plan has everything to do with how your psychology works. It has nothing to do with just, hey guys, this is what I do, A, B, C, D, E, F, follow it and you'll be profitable. Nope, not going to work. Sorry, buddy. Why do you think I'm able to do this? Like very religiously, not breaking rules, etc. Because this plan works for me. You have to figure out something that works for yourself. This is something I can't pass on to you. This is something you have to figure out for yourself. All right. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that one. See you in the next one where we will talk about my entire reasoning behind this. 1, 2, 3. Why? Why take this? Why? What's the reason? How do you deal with all-time highs? What did I do to deal with all-time highs? Very interesting video coming up next. See you guys in the next one, man. Peace out.